We're just 4 days away from the June 4th election runoff. The final mayoral debate between Michael Hancock and Jamie Giellis brought up some familiar issues and some unfamiliar issues, including sex harassment and homelessness. We've only got 4 days. We were having a wild discussion of this race right before the cameras started rolling, which might account for why I'm a little hyped up here.
Yeah.
Susan, what do you think is going to happen?
Wow. So what I think is going to happen is we're going to have several more pretty nasty, ugly days. I think part of what the viewers are seeing and you being a little flustered is that our phones are ringing and our texts are buzzing with all sorts of really mean and nasty, ugly, unverifiable rumors, I think mostly from the Hancock campaign about either Jamie Giellis or people who support Jamie Giellis. And I've covered politics for about 30 years, and I've seen ugly, but I haven't seen ugly at this level in a city. And this is getting to a point where I think sometimes it's hard for us media folks to see outside our little bubble, but I think some of the negative ads that campaign or their proxies are airing just show a level of desperation and meanness on the part of this mayor that is a real turnoff in the city. John Hickenlooper had it right about this city and this state, that we don't really like that kind of campaigning here. We are not Chicago, and what we are seeing is Chicago from the Hancock campaign.
David Kopel, as a lifelong resident of this city and this area, what do you think about what we're seeing?
No, I'd agree with Susan. This is the sleaziest, most racist campaign in Denver mayoral history. Going back at least for 50 or 60 years. In the debates, it's kind of sad with all the kind of somewhat petty personal attacks on each other, not much new to say. And as it turns out, they both skip debates, that they don't want to go to, like the vast majority of candidates do. So there's not much difference in that. With Hancock, people know his level of competence, and either as mayor, and they're either satisfied with it or not. Presumably the ones who travel through DIA or drive in the city might be on the less satisfied side. With Giellis, is she going to be a competent replacement? You don't really know, and she hasn't really solidly made the sale on convincing people that she would be, but I think some folks are going to be willing to take a chance, and the number who are willing to take that chance increases because of the really despicable nature of the last few weeks of the incumbent mayor's campaign.
Eric, you've certainly watched your share of campaigns and commented on this one. Where do you think we're going in the next 4 days?
It has certainly been scorched earth on the part of the Hancock campaign. I flash back to previous mayoral races, including a few that I was a part of. And yes, Federico Pena, way back in '83, dislodged an incumbent. But that was a campaign of inspiration, hope, generational change. It had an ethnic component. And the incumbent in that case didn't even make it to the runoff. In '95, I was a key consultant to Mary DeGroat. That was a rough campaign between Mary DeGroat and Wellington Webb. But there was never an allegation. There were plenty of allegations of ethical improprieties vis-a-vis Webb and his administration, but never anything about his personal conduct. There was never an inference about his personal conduct or any of that. And there was also there wasn't a sense in that race that there is now, that somehow both of these candidates are wanting and the city's in bad shape if either of them got elected. And then Susan somewhat stole my thunder vis-a-vis, John Hickenlooper got elected mayor twice and governor of this state twice, and now is running around all kinds of parts of the U.S. And half of his appeal was his pledge never to run a negative ad. Well, Michael Hancock has proven himself to be the un-John Hickenlooper in that regard. It is not a mark of confidence for an incumbent mayor this close to an election not to be talking about a third term, not to be talking about vision, not to be talking about any of that, but just going scorched earth in ads that at least 3 TV stations have fact-checked very harshly. But, politics is politics, and it's not beanbag. And they figure for every person who watches a fact check that says the ad is not totally accurate, 100 people are just watching the ad and not the fact check. And they're just going to play the cards out to the finish line.
Crysta, ugliest campaign in recent memory?
In recent memory. And, you know, Denver is such a beautiful city. As a Denver native, I hate to see it become such a, it's sort of sullied, to use an old-fashioned word, by this campaign. I mean, whether it's resurrecting old tweets, nasty allegations, it's disgusting. And I don't know if it's a question of the personalities involved or if it's the era that we're involved in. I mean, the last election, the presidential level was pretty ugly. Or could it be that there is a lack of unity within the Democratic Party? I think there are a lot of symptoms that need a cure. In fact, I don't want to see John Hickenlooper run for president. I want to see him run for mayor of Denver.
Well, he could have gone for that third term. All right, we're going to go around once more on this one. Let's have predictions. So at the 7 o'clock is the deadline on June 4th to vote. Don't mail it in now, but you can deliver it. You can go to a voting center if you don't have your ballot. Susan, at the end of the day, and let's assuming Denver elections counts a little faster, at the end of the day, who's going to be the new mayor and by what percentage?
Wow. I may regret this. I always do. But I would say Giellis by 6 points.
David?
Similar. I'd say Giellis will win with 54%.
Eric?
I wouldn't lose any sleep for sure if Susan and David were right. I think that there are a lot of Denverites and a lot of voters generally go with the known instead of the unknown. Even if the known is damaged goods, I think Hancock probably ekes it out. Just the throw weight of that campaign, the amount of money that they have raised, politics probably triumphs, unfortunately here. The risk for Hancock is that voters out there who really don't like either candidate, there have been studies recently about how strong people who said, I can't stand either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton broke for Trump. And I think those voters who are less than enamored with either candidate may well break for Giellis, but I'll put my money on Hancock.
Okay, and Crysta?
I'm going to go Hancock by 2% that is. I just think he's got the incumbent's advantage.
And I wrote it down before I started this. I've got Giellis by 1%. It's going to be a squeaker. But remember, everyone can still vote, even if you can't find your... You should live in the city of Denver. Even if you can't find your ballot, you can go and vote on Tuesday.